Well, hey, Dustin, I'm so glad that you're here for this interview. I want the world to see and to hear your story about the bus that we're restoring right now. First of all, it's an honor to have you here. It's an honor to be able to have the opportunity to work on your bus, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm honored to have it here. You guys have been great.
that's
Really,
good.
really amazing to work with. So thank you for that.
Yeah, tell me how you found out about us.
Well, the bus has been here for about 5 years now.
Okay.
And my intention was always to find a way or find someone to help me get it back to where it should be.
Right.
Because my dad and I restored it on a budget, and it was, you saw it. It was done okay. It looked good from far. Let's put it that way. And so it's been here for 5 years, and I've been the past couple of years I've been calling around.
Oh, okay.
And I was calling. I couldn't find anybody in town, and I think you had maybe just acquired this place, and I just didn't find you.
Okay. Yeah, 2 years or 2.5, 3 years almost.
Yeah. So it was about 2 years ago. So you guys have maybe been here for 6 months or so.
Okay.
And you didn't come up in the search yet. I just didn't find you. So I had been calling, Eugene and Portland and places in Northern California.
Right.
And all the responses from the guys on the phone were just didn't seem like it was a good scenario. Having to trailer the bus down there, you're talking 6, 8, 10 hours away.
Oh, yeah.
And then how am I going to be a part of that?
Right.
Being able to come and see it on occasion like I get like today.
Yeah.
Get to see you guys, hang out, see the progress. So I was at a friend's party, and a buddy of mine, I just got to talking to him about the bus because he had seen it in my garage. He's like, oh, bro, I know somebody who can help you. And he knew the previous owner.
Okay, so he was thinking Young's old Volkswagen.
Young's,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we came by that day.
Yeah, we were outside.
And we met you and got to talking, and you were like, you had that
the blue
one in
the
there.
Bay, yeah, the 76 that we had.
And if that one hadn't been there for me to kind of take a peek at, I don't know, I would have been kind of skeptical.
Sure.
But I was like, whoa, look at this thing. And it looked nice. You guys were doing a sweet job on it. And that sold me. And then you and I got to talking and had a couple of meetings. Then finally I brought it in, I
drove it in.
Dude, barely.
With no brakes, or the brakes were on
no,
fire.
The brake was seized
smoking.
up. Yeah, it was smoking when I got here. Remember it wouldn't turn?
Oh yeah, the kingpin was just like binding.
Getting that thing here that day, I didn't think I was going to make it.
Wow.
I basically had the thing almost floored, and it's barely moving.
That's amazing, man. Well, it's going to be a different experience when you drive it out of here when it's finished, man.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah. So
that's how I found you.
That's awesome. And that's so cool to hear. And like I said, we're honored to be able to have the opportunity to work for you.
Well, when you meet somebody and it's that first impression, and I just had a nice warm feeling when I met you guys, and I think we're going to be friends forever.
We keep it real.
The way things are going.
Well, hey, tell the audience how you acquired the bus and how important this whole project and what it means to you.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. So, I'm a VW head, and I drove a VW. It was my first car. My first car was a '66 Combi, and I bought it with all the money I saved from odd jobs and things for $1,600.
Wow.
I bought it from just some guy. You remember the Penny Saver?
Yeah, I do.
I bought it out of the Penny Saver magazine.
Wow.
From just some guy, and it needed a bit of work. And so I did all the work myself on that one.
What year was that?
It was when I bought it. It was 1991.
Okay.
I think 1990, 1991. I got my first Combi. So I built that thing, or just did a minor restoration on it, painted it in my front yard. My first time ever painting anything. I had a crappy compressor, and I got this spray gun from the swap meet. And I don't know how I even figured out how to paint it. Because it was like a 2-part paint. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I painted it on my lawn. It had a million bugs in the paint,
That's
first round. And then I actually did a proper restoration on it, second round, exterior restoration. Had a proper body shop help me, had a proper paint job put on it. And I sold that thing for, I think it was about $4,000.
Okay.
Regret it to this day. I really wish.
You still have that, and that's the one that got let go.
Yeah, I think we all have those.
Oh yeah.
Right?
For sure.
So I sold that thing, and I always told myself someday, I'm going to have another one, but I really wanted the one. I
Right.
wanted the 21 window ragtop.
Right.
That's what I wanted. And so I moved away to go to college, came back from college, and my dad at the time was working at a van conversion shop. And what they did is they converted vans like Chrysler minivans and things into handicap accessible vans.
Okay. Yeah.
So that you can roll in the side and had a lift that dropped down. You roll in, and you can, like, if you're in a wheelchair, you can drive a car, which is really cool. The work he was doing, that was really cool. And I used to go visit him. He was in Anaheim, just a couple miles from Disneyland. And I used to go visit him. I was living in San Diego at the time, going to school. And I'd go visit him all the time at his shop. And one day I was driving to his shop. I decided to take a different route. Like, I think I had to go get some food, come back around, took a different route to the shop. And I see something out of the corner of my eye on the side of this guy's house. So I stop, back up, pull over, look at this thing. And I see there's a Volkswagen bus sitting on the side of this guy's house. So I get out of the car and I go sneak around looking at this thing. And I'm like, holy moly.
21 window, right?
That's the one. That's the one. And I'm like, there it is. And so I race back to the shop, tell my dad all about it. And he's like, no way. And my dad at the time, he didn't know nothing about Volkswagens. He was a Harley guy. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, I didn't really mind it much. But I was like, Dad, that's the one. I got to have that thing. And so we went back the next day and knocked on the door. No one answered. So we put a note on the door, and we got to looking at it a little more. And what we saw was kind of crazy, because it was completely full of newspapers and phone books.
Oh, wow.
Almost to like the roof. The whole thing was full. And it was slammed to the ground from the weight. It was like literally sitting on the ground. And there's grass growing up through it and all that.
So it'd been there for a long time.
I think it'd been there for a minute.
Yeah. What was its color? Do you remember?
Well, I sent you that picture, and I think it was like a
almost like a seafoam green or something like that.
I think, and I think it had a little bit of metallic to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think originally it was Bahama blue, I think. From what I can see, a two-tone, which would have been common for a deluxe.
Yeah.
In that year.
Yeah, and it was a two-tone, and the color was interesting. I can't even the picture, when you look at it, it's kind of hard to tell. It's pretty faded and weird. But yeah, that was a cool color. I mean, I don't think I would repaint it that original color.
That might have been something from the early 80s.
Who knows what that's all about? That's an 80s color, right?
For sure.
But yeah, the thing was rotted. It was pretty rotted. And so I spent, the next year, I think, dropping by that guy's house. And I talked to him one time, and he was like, it's not for sale. And what's really interesting is the license plate on that thing, the original one. I have it still. It's a California plate. It says NOTFRSL.
Yeah, not for sale. Yeah.
And he said that to me. He said, do you see the license plate? And I'm like, oh, come on, man. I mean, everything's got a price, right? So, one day my dad, I left him with my dad's number because my dad was right there. When anybody gets calls, the guy called me, man. He said he's ready.
Wow. Persistence, pays off.
We just kept stopping by like every couple months and leaving notes. And I was like, no way. He's like, yeah, he told me, if you can get out of my yard, it's yours. And we were like, what? So I basically jumped in the car, drove up to Anaheim, and I had a pickup truck. Both my dad and I had pickup trucks. And it took us, I want to say, at least 4 trips to the dump to get all the newspapers and phone books out of that thing so we could get it out of the yard. Because we couldn't move the one. I mean, we didn't really know what we were getting into. No. And it probably had a little more cancer than we were hoping. But a lot of them do nowadays.
So then it was basically, from what I know, from what you've said to me in the past, it was basically a father-son project.
Yeah. And it was great because at the time, I didn't see Dad much, right? There wasn't a lot of reasons to drive, 2 hours to Anaheim, hang out with Dad. So it gave us a real bonding point. And I used to get up there on the weekends when I wasn't working, and we would spend, the whole weekend working on that thing, knocking the rust out. He taught me how to braze because we were doing a lot of brazing. There's a lot of cancer on that thing. Mm-hmm. And we had a great time. It was a fun project. I wish we had a little more know-how and money at the time to do it a little bit better. But Yeah, we had a good time. It was it really was a bonding project for my dad and I, and it took us a couple of years, I think about 2 years
Okay.
to get it done. And I remember the day we drove it out of there, and him and I had a lot of good times in that thing.
That's awesome.
It was cool. Yeah, it was unique. The only thing that really was a bummer is I think I was telling you, my dad. So it had seats in it. I think it had the 2 front seats and 1 bench seat in the back.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, he does these van conversions over there. So he's got all these extra seats
Yeah.
from these Chrysler minivans or whatever.
Yeah, the Pacifica.
Yeah, leather bucket seats.
Yeah.
You saw them.
Oh yeah, that thing was Pacifica out.
Oh yeah, man. So he decided, without consulting with me first, he sold the seats for $50 to a friend of mine, and then slapped in those Pacifica seats. So that was a bit of a bummer. My dad always aspired to surf, and I was a surfer, and so we used to take it surfing quite a bit.
Yeah.
We'd throw the boards back there and head off to the beach and go surfing. And we sort of, set up at the beach,
Heck yeah,
put a
man.
table out, have lunch, do stuff like that. We had some good times. We didn't have enough good times in that thing, to be honest.
Okay.
Him and I. Dads are an interesting part of your life, and
They are.
it became more of a struggle with him as time moved on than I had hoped.
Right.
So, I wish there was more good times, but I finally obtained the bus and brought it back down to San Diego.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time with my wife and my daughter in that thing, cruising around.
That's cool.
Yeah, we'd go and park it down at the beach and just, make a day out of it.
Right.
And people trip out when they see those things.
Oh,
man.
sure.
The reaction from people is just pretty insane.
It's kind of a phenomenon, when with the buses, Beetles, Type 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, it seems like it always just triggers, it positively triggers like a moment in time in somebody's head that, oh man, I remember when I used to have this, or my friend or my family, my dad or whatever, I used to have one, and they tell you stories about that. There's always a story.
I mean, and the conversations you get into are just meeting random people that are Volkswagen
Right.
people, or ex-Volkswagen people, or people that are still dreaming of owning one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I mean, I always felt a little, to be honest, like a little just, I don't want to say embarrassed. I felt a little bit like I didn't do that bus justice. Just because of the way it came out. I mean, it was nice, right? But it was, it was put together. And I always felt that way. And I had some purists kind of say some comments to me a few times about it. And it sort of hurt me. I was like, I had some guys be like, man, really? That's what you did to it? And you should have done this and done that. And I'm just like, it hurt me.
Yeah, that's tough when you have critics that come out there and they're not afraid to, share their opinion about it, even though it's not warranted. But
a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
So going through this process with you and doing it right, and then just seeing those door panels on that thing, just, oh my God.
So when you brought it here and you wanted to get it done right, what goals do you have for it now when it's finished?
This is an interesting story because I got it up here and I couldn't really find anyone to do it. So I was this close to parting ways with it.
Wow.
Just because it was sitting in my garage for years and years, and I wasn't putting the love into it. And I didn't feel like I deserved it. It's just sitting there. I got this close to selling it, and my daughter heard about me wanting to sell it, overheard my conversation with my wife, going, yeah, maybe I should sell it because I could really do something good with the money, make them buy something we could actually use, And she came to me and looked me in the eyes and said, you better not sell that thing.
Kind of reminds me of yourself when you told your dad that.
Yeah. So that was it, man. And then the search went on, and then I found you.
Yeah.
And so the plan with that thing is, of course, I want it to be something that's a family heirloom that'll be in the family.
Nice.
For eternity. So the daughter's going to end up with it. I'm going to force her to learn to drive it. Because nowadays it's like, where do you learn to drive a stick shift?
Yeah.
Especially a Volkswagen.
Yeah. Not even used cars now, or rarely have manual transmissions.
So this is going to be something that I really want to use to bond with the family.
That's awesome.
My wife, my daughter. I want to take trips. I want to go to bus events and shows.
Yeah.
I love the bus culture.
Yeah.
It's a special type of person.
It really and truly is, man. I mean, when I got into it years and years ago, like I didn't realize just how cool it was. You know, I've never met a sour person, and who's a Volkswagen owner. You know?
Yeah.
You know, when I used to go and hunt for these things, all over the U.S., I'd meet the most interesting people, go to the most interesting places. But it was like I'm friends with all of them. When it's like once you meet a Volkswagen guy or gal, you just kind of you bonded for life.
You have to one, you instantly have something in common, right?
Right.
And you have to just be a certain type of human being to
Right.
appreciate what these things are. They're unique in all ways compared to any other classic vehicle that exists.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was just so infatuated with them, and they just always reminded me of like a cartoon, character or whatever, Herbie, obviously would kind of spark that, for me. But
that's cool.
Yeah, man, I totally get it.
Yeah, they're rad, man, and I'm really looking forward to it. This summer is going to be one of the best ever.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, man, for talking to me and sharing with the world your experience. And we're really excited to once this project's finished, and we'll have the reveal and all that kind of stuff. And I just know that you're going to be stoked, and this is going to be a pretty exciting, fun thing. We'll have to throw some sort of celebration or something like that.
Oh yeah, we're going to party.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, David, and of course your boys, Randy and Steve are amazing guys. You guys are you got something special here, man.
Appreciate that. Well, hey, moving forward, just so you guys know, if you have a classic Volkswagen that you need to have restored or repaired or whatever it is, we're here to help you, and it'd be an honor to do so. So
this is your guy.
Yeah.